Your religion was built to keep you poor, not by accident, not as a side effect, by design, from the ground up as the entire point. I know how that sounds. I know that for some of you it lands like an insult, and I want you to feel that reaction, that hot little flare of defense that just went off in your chest, because that reaction is the first piece of evidence. You were trained to defend this. You were trained to feel the defense before you feel the thought. And a belief that arms itself against examination before you have even examined it is not a belief you arrived at. It is a belief that was installed. So sit with the discomfort for a few minutes, because I am not here to mock what you believe. I am here to show you something colder and more useful than mockery. I'm going to show you the machine, how it was actually built, what it was built to do, and who it was built to serve, using the eyes of a man who saw it more clearly than almost anyone in history and paid for that clarity with his sanity. His name was Friedrich Nietzsche, and he did not attack religion the way an angry teenager attacks it, by shouting that God is not real. That bored him. He thought that was the shallow version, the version that misses the whole point. Nietzsche asked a far more dangerous question. Not is it true, but what is it for? Who does it serve? What does it do to the person who swallows it? And when he followed that question all the way down, he found something that should disturb you more than any argument about whether the universe has a creator. He found that the entire moral system most of the world lives inside was engineered deliberately over centuries to take the people at the bottom and convince them that the bottom is where the good people belong. To take your poverty and call it holy, to take your obedience and call it virtue, to take your smallness and your fear and your exhaustion and hand it all back to you wrapped in gold, relabeled as righteousness, so that you would carry it gladly and never once think to put it down. That is what this video is about. 9 ways your religion was built to keep you poor, powerless, and grateful for it. And I am going to name every single one. But first, the man and the idea, because you cannot understand the 9 without it. Nietzsche looked at the ancient world, and he noticed something that everyone else had walked past. He noticed that a very long time ago, there were 2 completely different ways of deciding what the words good and bad even meant. The first way belonged to the strong, to the powerful, the healthy, the confident, the people who had things and did things. For them, good simply meant what they were. Strength was good, vitality was good, pride, ambition, the full use of your powers, the enjoyment of your life, all good. And bad to them just meant the opposite: weakness, cowardice, smallness. It was not complicated, and it was not cruel exactly. It was just the natural morality of people who were winning. And then, Nietzsche said, something happened. The people at the bottom, the ones who were not strong, not powerful, not winning, the ones who were crushed and ruled and could not fight back, they did something extraordinary. They could not defeat the strong with their hands, so they defeated them with something far more patient and far more devastating. They defeated them with morality itself. They performed what Nietzsche called a revaluation of all values, a total inversion, a quiet historic act of revenge so subtle that the people it conquered never even saw it coming. They took every quality of the strong and relabeled it as evil. Pride became a sin, ambition became greed, confidence became arrogance, the full enjoyment of your one life became temptation, worldliness, a trap for the soul. And then, having made strength into wickedness, they took every quality of their own weakness and crowned it as holy. Meekness became a virtue, poverty became blessedness, obedience became goodness, suffering became noble. The inability to strike back became the great moral achievement of turning the other cheek. Nietzsche called this slave morality. And he did not mean it as a cheap insult. He meant it as a precise historical description of the most successful psychological operation ever run on the human species. Because it worked. It worked so completely that most of the people listening to this right now carry it in their bones and have never once suspected it was put there on purpose. And here's the part that should make the hair stand up on your arms. A morality that tells the powerless that their powerlessness is holy is the single most useful tool of control ever invented, because it does not require a single guard, a single chain, or a single whip. The prisoner guards himself. The prisoner is grateful for the cell. The prisoner will fight you, will genuinely fight you if you try to set him free, because you are threatening the one thing that made his suffering bearable, which is the belief that the suffering means he is good. So let me show you the machine, part by part, 9 ways it was built and is still running to keep you exactly where you are. There is a man who works 6 days a week, long days, hard ones, and at the end of the month there is never enough. There has never once been enough. And on the 7th day he sits in a building and a voice tells him that the poor are blessed, that his empty hands are a kind of wealth, that the last shall be first, and something in his chest unknots. Because for 1 hour a week, the worst fact of his life stops being a wound and becomes a badge. He walks out lighter. He does not walk out angry. He has been given something precious and something poisonous in the same breath, and he cannot tell them apart because they arrived wrapped together, and he will come back next week for more of both. Number 1, it taught you that your poverty is a sign of virtue, so you would never fight to escape it. Think about the single most quoted promise in the entire tradition. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom. Take a step back and look at what that machinery actually accomplishes in the mind of a poor person. It takes the worst material fact of their life, the fact that they do not have enough, that they are struggling, that they are ground down by need, and it flips it instantly into the best spiritual fact of their life. You are not failing. You are blessed. You are not at the bottom. You are secretly at the top in a kingdom you cannot see that pays out later after you are dead. Ask the cold question, who benefits from that arrangement? A poor person who believes his poverty is a moral achievement does not organize. He does not rage. He does not demand. He does not look at the people who have everything and ask why. He looks at his empty hands and feels, of all things, chosen. He accepts. He endures. He waits. And the arrangement that keeps him poor rolls on, unthreatened, protected by the very people it is crushing, who have been handed a story in which their crushing is a crown. Nietzsche saw this with brutal clarity. The promise of reward in the next life is the most efficient method ever devised for guaranteeing obedience in this one. You do not need to pay a man fairly if you can convince him his unfair wages are building him a mansion in heaven. You do not need to fix his suffering if you can persuade him the suffering is the point. And here is the sharpest edge of it. The same promise that comforts the poor man on Sunday also, quietly, removes the one thing that might have changed his Monday. Because a person who believes his poverty is a moral achievement has been given a powerful reason never to escape it. To climb out would be, in some buried way, to give up the badge. There are people who have turned down the chance at more, at better, at a fuller life and felt righteous doing it, and never once suspected that the righteousness was the leash. The comfort and the cage were the same object the whole time. So here is the first honest question, and I want the real answer, not the reflexive one. Has the belief that your struggle is holy ever once made you accept a situation you should have fought? Has calling your poverty a blessing ever quietly talked you out of demanding more? Sit with that, because the machine works precisely by making that question feel like a sin to ask. A woman spends 40 years being told to wait. Wait and endure and stay faithful, and the reward is coming, stored up, safe, guaranteed, payable in full on the far side of her last breath. She endures a marriage she should have left. She endures work that grinds her down. She endures and endures because the endurance is the deposit and the payout is certain. And near the end, in a quiet room, a small and terrible thought arrives that she pushes away as fast as it comes, which is that she has never actually seen anyone come back to confirm the account exists. She spent the whole real thing waiting for a thing she was never allowed to check. Number 2, it moved the payment to after you are dead, where no one has ever collected and no one can ever complain. This is the masterstroke, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every hard system of control has the same problem. How do you get people to accept terrible conditions now in exchange for a reward without ever actually having to deliver the reward? And the answer religion arrived at is so elegant, it is almost beautiful in its cruelty. You promise the reward after death, because after death no one comes back to file a complaint. Think about the structure of the deal you were offered. Endure now, obey now, stay humble, stay poor, stay meek, do not make trouble, do not demand, do not grasp at the pleasures of this life, and later, after your heart stops, you will be repaid 1,000-fold forever. It is the only contract in the history of the world with a payout date that no living person has ever witnessed and no dead person has ever confirmed. It is unfalsifiable by design. You cannot check it, you cannot audit it, you can only obey the terms and hope. And the hoping is free labor extracted from you every single day of your actual, finite, real life. Nietzsche's word for this was devastating. He said this kind of religion is hostile to life. It teaches you to treat your one real existence, the only one you will ever get, the mornings and the meals and the sunlight and the body, as a mere waiting room, a test, a corridor to somewhere better. And a person who believes his real life is just a corridor will let anyone do anything to that life, because in his mind it does not fully count. It is not the real thing. The real thing comes later. And who benefits from a workforce that believes their real life comes later? Everyone who profits from their labor now. A man who thinks this world is a test to be endured is the most exploitable creature that has ever existed, because he has been taught to expect nothing here and to blame no one for that nothing. And notice who never has to answer for the delay. In every other contract on earth, if the payment does not come, someone is accountable. You can point, complain, demand. But a reward payable only after death has no one to bill and no one to blame. If it does not come, you will not be there to notice. And if you spend your whole life in the waiting room and it turns out the room had no door on the far side, no one will ever be held to account for the years you spent waiting. It is the only arrangement in existence that is completely protected from its own failure. So the second question, how much of your one actual life have you spent treating it as a rehearsal for a life that comes after it? And if the answer is a lot, ask who told you to, and ask coldly what they got out of your patience. A child asks a question in a quiet room, an honest one, a real one, about something that does not add up, and the adults go still. And the answer she gets is not an answer, it is a warning. Some things we do not ask. You must have faith. Do not lean on your own understanding. And the child who is clever, who is born curious the way all children are born curious, learns the lesson underneath the words, which is that her own mind is dangerous, that the questions that rise in her are a kind of enemy, and she begins, at 7 years old, the lifelong work of flinching away from her own thoughts before they finish forming. Number 3. It made obedience itself the highest virtue, so that questioning became the deepest sin. Look at what sits at the very top of the moral hierarchy you were handed. Not curiosity, not courage, not the pursuit of truth. Obedience, faith, the submission of your own judgment to a higher authority. The greatest praise available in the whole system is that you are faithful, that you trust, that you do not lean on your own understanding, that you obey even when you do not understand, especially when you do not understand. Turn that over and look at what it does. A system that makes obedience the highest good and doubt the gravest sin has, in a single move, disarmed the one weapon that could ever free you, your own mind. Because the moment your own reason starts to question the arrangement has already labeled that questioning as the work of the enemy, as temptation, as pride, as the exact sin that damns you. So you do not just fail to question, you feel guilty for wanting to. You experience your own intelligence as a threat to your soul. Nietzsche saw the genius and the horror of it. Faith, he said, means not wanting to know what is true. It is the will to look away from reality, dressed up as the highest virtue. And a population trained from childhood to experience their own doubts as sins is a population that can be led anywhere, told anything, and made to do almost anything, as long as it comes wrapped in the language of the sacred. You do not need to win the argument if you have convinced people that arguing is evil. And watch how early the flinch is installed and how deep it goes. It is not taught as an argument, because an argument could be answered. It is taught as a feeling, a reflex, laid down before the age of reason, so that by the time you are old enough to actually weigh the ideas, the weighing itself already feels like a sin. You do not reject the doubt because you examined it and found it wanting. You reject it before it can be examined at all, and you call that rejection faith, and you are praised for it, and the praise seals the lock. So the third question, and be honest, when a doubt about what you were taught rises up in you, what is your very first feeling? Is it curiosity, or is it fear, a flinch, a reflex to push the thought away before it finishes forming? Because if it is fear, that fear was installed deliberately to protect the machine from the one thing that could dismantle it, which is you thinking freely. A man is wronged, genuinely, badly, by someone with power he does not have, and the rage is enormous, and it has nowhere to go. Because he cannot fight back, there is no version where he wins, and the rage is eating him alive. So he goes to the place he was taught to go, and he is told the holy thing, the beautiful thing, the thing that saves him. Forgive, turn the other cheek, let it go, and you rise above him. And it works. It genuinely works. The unbearable rage becomes a bearable peace. But notice what also happened. The man who wronged him faces nothing, changes nothing. The injustice stands, untouched, and the only thing that moved was the victim, who was talked out of minding. Number 4, it turned your resentment into a virtue and called it forgiveness, so you would never act on it. Here is one of Nietzsche's sharpest and most uncomfortable observations. He looked at the great moral command to forgive, to turn the other cheek, to love your enemy, to bless those who curse you, and he asked the question no one dares ask. Is this strength, or is it the most sophisticated coping mechanism ever built for people who are too powerless to do anything else? Think about it coldly. If a strong person is wronged, they can respond. They have options. They can act. But if a person is completely powerless, if they are crushed and cannot strike back, they are left holding an enormous, poisonous resentment with nowhere to put it. And that resentment is unbearable. So what do you do with a rage you can never act on? You perform an inner alchemy. You turn the inability to get revenge into the noble choice not to seek it. You take your helplessness and you rename it virtue. I am not too weak to strike back. I am too good to strike back. I forgive. I turn the other cheek. I am blessed. Nietzsche called the engine underneath this Ressentiment, and he considered it one of the most powerful forces in human history. It is the psychology of the powerless who cannot admit their powerlessness, so they convert it into moral superiority, and it is spectacularly useful to anyone in charge. Because a person who has transformed their justified rage into holy forgiveness will never, ever come for you. They have disarmed themselves and called the disarming a sacrament. They have taken the one fuel that could power a revolt, righteous anger at genuine injustice, and they have blessed it into passivity. And here is the quiet cost nobody names. The rage was not wrong. That is the part the machine has to hide. The anger of a person who has been genuinely, materially wronged is not a flaw in their character. It is information. It is the accurate signal that something unjust is happening and should be stopped. Convert that signal into holy forgiveness, and you have not healed the person. You have disabled their alarm. You have taught them to feel virtuous precisely at the moment they should have felt and acted on a completely justified fury. So the fourth question: how often have you been told that your anger at a real wrong is itself the problem? That the holy response to being treated unjustly is to forgive, to let go, to not be bitter? And ask who is served when the person being wronged is taught that their wrongness lies in minding. A family is drowning, quietly, the way families drown, under bills and conditions and arrangements none of them designed and none of them can name. And when they ask why, when the father lies awake asking why is it always this hard, the answer he has been handed does not point at anything he could fight. It points to the devil, at a test, at his own insufficient faith, his own hidden sin, his own failure to believe hard enough. So he spends his strength on his knees battling a spiritual enemy in the dark, and he never once stands up and looks at the actual machinery grinding his actual family. Because he was taught that the real war is the one inside his soul, and the war inside his soul can never be won and never be finished. Number 5. It gave you an invisible enemy so you would never look at the visible one. This is one of the oldest tricks in the machine, and it is still running at full power. When your life is hard, when you are struggling, when you are ground down and afraid and exhausted, the human mind desperately wants to know why. It wants a cause. It wants someone to blame. And that impulse is dangerous from the point of view of anyone benefiting from your struggle. Because if you look around clearly and ask why your life is so hard, you might find real answers, real systems, real people, real arrangements that could be changed. So the machine offers you a different enemy, an invisible one. Your suffering is not the fault of any system or any person. It is the work of the devil. It is a spiritual test. It is the consequence of your own sin, your own insufficient faith, your own failure to pray hard enough or believe purely enough. The battle is not out there in the world against conditions that could be fought. The battle is in here, in your soul, against temptation and doubt and the enemy of your faith. Do you see what that accomplishes? It takes all of your fear, all of your frustration, all of the energy that might have gone into changing your actual circumstances, and it redirects it inward into an unwinnable private war against your own sinful nature. You spend your strength fighting a spiritual enemy you can never defeat, and you have nothing left to fight the material conditions you actually could. The struggle is real, the exhaustion is real, but it has been aimed at a ghost. Nietzsche understood that inventing a supernatural cause for earthly suffering is the most reliable way to prevent people from ever addressing the earthly causes. A man on his knees battling his own demons is a man who is not on his feet asking who built the arrangement that broke him. And consider how perfectly this protects every real arrangement that profits from your struggle. A man fighting the devil is not auditing his wages. A woman battling her own sinful nature is not asking who designed the conditions crushing her family. The invisible enemy is not just a distraction. It is a shield held up in front of every visible enemy, made of the most unquestionable material there is. You cannot organize against a devil. You cannot vote out a spiritual test. You can only pray, and prayer, whatever else it is, changes nothing about the arrangement that sent you to your knees. So the 5th question, when your life gets hard, where does the machine tell you to look for the cause? Inward, at your own sin and weakness, or outward, at the actual conditions of your actual life? And notice which direction keeps you praying and which direction might have made you dangerous. A young person lies awake sick with guilt over a desire that is as natural as breathing, a hunger the body simply produces on its own without permission, the way it produces hunger for food or the need for sleep. And they have been taught that this hunger is filth, that wanting is weakness, that the good version of them is the version that denies, refuses, goes without, wars against their own flesh. So they learn to be ashamed of their own aliveness. They learn to feel holy in exact proportion to how much they deny themselves. And they carry that arithmetic into adulthood, into every room, a quiet, permanent sense that to want fully is to sin, and that the good life is the smaller one. Number 6, it made your body and its pleasures into the enemy, so you would accept a life with less of everything. Look at how much of the machine is aimed directly at your body and its wants. The pleasures of the flesh are sin. Desire is temptation. The appetites are lower, base, animal, things to be conquered, denied, ashamed of. The holy person is the one who fasts, who abstains, who denies himself, who treats his own natural hungers as a battlefield where virtue is proven by how much he refuses himself. Now ask the cold question again. What does it do to a person to be taught, from before they can even reason, that their own desires are shameful, that wanting is weakness, that pleasure is dangerous, and that the good life is the life of denial and restraint and going without? It manufactures a person who is comfortable with less, who feels virtuous when they are deprived, who's been trained to distrust their own longing for more, for better, for fuller. A person who has learned to feel holy precisely when they are going without is a person who will accept going without for their entire life and thank you for the lesson. Nietzsche, who prized the full flourishing of a human being, the yes to life, the embrace of the body and its powers and its joys, saw the denial of the body as a kind of slow suicide sold as sanctity, a war against yourself, waged on behalf of your own diminishment. And it is, once again, enormously convenient to anyone who would prefer you to want less, expect less, and demand less. And there is a second, colder benefit to teaching people to war against their own desires. A person at war with themselves has no energy left over. The whole campaign against your own body, the constant policing of your own hungers, the exhausting inner battle to deny and refuse and restrain, consumes exactly the vitality that might otherwise have gone outward, into building, demanding, reaching for a fuller life. Keep a person busy fighting themselves, and they will never have the strength to fight anything else. The war on the body is also, conveniently, a war on your capacity to want more than you were given. So the sixth question: how much of the guilt you feel around wanting things, around pleasure, around desiring a fuller and richer life is actually yours, and how much was installed to make sure you would never reach for more than you were given? There is a woman who could see clearly what was wrong with the place she lived, the injustice of it, the things that could be changed, that should be changed, that a person with her care and her strength might have helped change. But she had been taught that this world is not the real one, that it is a corridor, a vapor, a place you pass through on the way home, and that attachment to it is a kind of failing. So she aimed all of it, all that care and all that strength, upward and outward, toward the world that comes after. And the world she actually lived in, the one that needed exactly her, kept right on being what it was, because the person best equipped to fight for it had been taught that fighting for it was beneath her true concern. Number 7. It replaced this world with the next one, so you would stop trying to improve this one. Everything in the machine points away from here. The kingdom is not of this world. Store up treasures in heaven, not on earth. This life is fleeting, a vapor, a shadow, and the real life, the important one, the eternal one, is elsewhere, later, beyond. Your true home is not here. You are a stranger passing through. An attachment to this world, to its projects and its improvements and its justice, is a kind of spiritual failure, a clinging to the temporary. Follow what that does across a whole society of people who believe it. If this world is not the real one, if it is just a corridor to the true world that comes after, then why would you pour your life into fixing it? Why fight to change conditions in a place you have been taught is temporary and unreal and beneath your true concern? The energy of the most patient, most enduring, most moral people, the very people who might have built something better here, gets siphoned entirely upward and outward, toward a heaven and away from the earth, where it might have actually changed something. Nietzsche saw the deep and quiet catastrophe in this. A civilization that devalues this world in favor of the next is a civilization that has agreed in advance to leave this world in the hands of whoever wants it most, while the good people wait patiently to leave it behind. The meek were promised the earth, and in exchange for that promise they surrendered it entirely. And this is how the meek were promised the earth and then quietly handed it away. If the good people, the patient ones, the ones with the deepest care and the strongest endurance, all agree that this world is beneath their true concern, then this world is left entirely to whoever wants it most, unopposed. The people best equipped to fight for a better here have been persuaded that fighting for here is a spiritual failing. And so the earth goes, every time, not to the meek, but to whoever was worldly enough to actually reach for it, while the good were looking up. So the seventh question: how much of your care, your energy, your hope has been aimed at a world you will only reach by dying, and therefore withdrawn from the one you are living in right now? And who inherits an earth that all the good people have agreed to stop fighting for? A man feels it. The stirring, the entirely human "this is not enough," the healthy hunger for a fuller life, a better situation, more than the little he was handed. And immediately, right behind it, comes the guilt, trained and automatic, because he was taught that a good person is a grateful person, that contentment is godliness, that to want more is to be ungrateful for what he has. So he performs the gratitude, he counts the blessings, he pushes the hunger back down and calls the pushing peace. And the situation that should have been fought never gets fought, because every time the fight rose up in him, it was met by his own conscience calling it a sin. Number 8, it made gratitude a duty, so you would feel thankful for exactly the amount you were given and never ask for more. This is one of the subtlest gears in the whole machine and one of the most effective. Be grateful. Give thanks in all circumstances. Count your blessings. Contentment is godliness. A holy heart is a thankful heart. On its surface, it sounds gentle, even wise, and gratitude, real gratitude, can be a genuine good. But watch what happens when gratitude is made into a commandment, a duty, a mark of your holiness measured by how content you are with what you have. It becomes a cap on your wanting. It becomes a moral ceiling over your ambition. A person commanded to be grateful for what they have is a person who has been quietly forbidden from demanding what they deserve. Every stirring of dissatisfaction, every flicker of "this is not enough," every healthy and human impulse to want a better life gets reframed as a spiritual failing. Ingratitude, discontent, a lack of faith. The problem is never that you have too little. The problem is always that you are insufficiently thankful for the little you have. Do you see the elegance of it? You have taken a person in genuinely unjust conditions and you have made their dissatisfaction with those conditions into a sin. Now they police themselves. Now every time the healthy hunger for more rises up, your own conscience is standing there to call it ingratitude and push it back down. And you perform gratitude, and the conditions never change, and you thank you for the conditions. Nietzsche saw contentment offered to the powerless as one of the sweetest poisons of all. Not a gift, but a leash made of good feeling. And the person on that leash will defend it because it feels like peace. And notice that this is the gear that turns you into your own guard. The others need a voice, a text, and authority to deliver them. But once gratitude has been made into a duty, you no longer need anyone to keep you in line. You do it yourself. Every time the healthy hunger for more rises up, your own conscience is standing there to call it ingratitude and push it back down. You have been made into both the prisoner and the warden, and the warden works for free, around the clock, out of a sense of holiness and never once suspects whose interests he is actually serving. So the 8th question: how many times has the command to be grateful been used to talk you out of wanting more than you were given? And is the peace you feel when you count your blessings real peace? Or is it just the comfortable feeling of having stopped fighting? Somewhere in this video a few minutes ago, you felt it. A door in your mind started to open, a question started to form, and something moved fast to shut it. Something older than thought, a flinch, a warning, a sense that you should not be thinking this, that this particular looking is not allowed. You may have felt it and kept going. You may have felt it and pushed the whole video away for a moment. That flinch is not your conscience. That flinch is the lock. It was installed in you precisely so that this moment, the moment you are in right now, would feel dangerous enough that you would look away on your own, and no one would ever have to. Every one of the 8 gears I have described has a vulnerability. Each of them could, in principle, be seen through. A person could notice that their poverty being called holy is awfully convenient for the people keeping them poor. A person could notice that a reward payable only after death is a reward no one can ever collect. Each part of the machine is exposed to the one force that could break it, which is a human being looking at it clearly and asking why. So the machine's final and most important move is to make that looking impossible. To wrap the entire structure in a force field of sacredness so total that even glancing at it critically feels like a violation. This is not a topic for questioning. This is holy. This is faith. To doubt it is not merely to be wrong, it is to be wicked, to be lost, to be in league with the enemy, to risk your very soul. The stakes of questioning are set to infinite. Eternal punishment awaits the doubter. And against infinite stakes, no finite curiosity can compete. This is the lock on the door. This is why the whole apparatus has survived for so long and controlled so many. Not because it answered the questions, but because it made the questions themselves forbidden. It took the single tool that could free you, your own honest mind, and it convinced you that using that tool on this one subject is the fastest way to damn yourself forever. Nietzsche spent his life trying to break that lock, and it cost him everything. Because he understood that a belief that punishes its own examination is not a truth that welcomes you. It is a cage that has convinced you the door is a wall. And understand why this gear had to be built last and strongest. Every other part of the machine is exposed. Each one on its own could be seen through by a clear pair of eyes and an honest question. So the whole structure would collapse under simple examination if examination were allowed. The ninth gear exists for one purpose: to make sure it never is. It is not an argument for the other 8, it is a wall around them. It does not answer the questions, it forbids them. And a structure that cannot survive being questioned, and so makes questioning the ultimate sin, has told you everything you need to know about whether it was ever true. So the ninth question, the last one, and the only one that finally matters. When you tried, even for a moment during this video, to look at these ideas directly and honestly, what stopped you? Was it a counter-argument? A better reason? A truth? Or was it fear? A flinch? A sense that you should not be thinking this at all? Because if it was fear, then you have just met the lock with your own hands, and now at least you know it is there. So what do you do with all of this? Because if I stop here, I have only shown you the cage, and a man who can see his cage but not the door is worse off than before. Nietzsche did not want to leave you in despair, and neither do I. His answer was not simply to smash the old thing and stand in the rubble. His answer was harder and better than that. He knew that if you tear away a person's entire framework of meaning and hand them nothing, they do not become free, they become lost. And a lost person will crawl back into any cage that offers them shelter. So the point was never just to escape, the point was to build. Here is what that looks like. And none of it requires you to become bitter or cruel or to hate the people you love who still live inside the machine.
First, learn to tell the difference between a value that serves your life and a value that serves your diminishment. This is the whole skill. Not every old teaching is poison. Kindness is real. Love is real. Community is real and precious. But learn to ask of each value you carry, cleanly and without fear, does this make me larger or smaller? Does this help me live or help me endure being crushed? Keep what makes you larger. Set down what was built to keep you small. Second, take your one real life back from the corridor. Stop treating this existence as a waiting room for a life that comes later. This, right now, the morning and the body and the people and the sunlight, this is not the rehearsal. This is the thing. And a person who fully believes that their real life is happening now becomes almost impossible to exploit because they will no longer accept nothing here in exchange for everything later. Third, reclaim your own mind as a friend instead of an enemy. The doubt you were taught to fear is not the voice of the devil. It is the voice of your own intelligence trying to protect you. Stop flinching from your own questions. Turn toward them. A mind that is allowed to think freely is the single thing the machine was most afraid of, which is exactly why you should let yours run. Fourth, aim your energy back at the world you actually live in. The care you were taught to send upward, toward heaven, toward later, bring it back down to earth, to now, to the conditions of your actual life and the lives around you, not because the sky is empty, that is not for me to say, but because this ground is where you stand, and it is the only place your one life can actually be lived and improved and fought for. Fifth, and this is the heart of what Nietzsche wanted from you, become the author of your own values instead of the inheritor of someone else's. This is the hardest thing a human being can do, and it is the only real freedom there is. To stop asking what you were told to be and to start asking, honestly, terrifyingly, from the ground up, what is actually good? What actually makes a life worth living? What you actually believe when no one is threatening you into believing it? Most people never do this. They die inside the values that were installed in them before they could speak. The rare few who do the work of choosing their own, those are the only people who are ever really free. And let me be concrete about what this actually looks like, because it is easy to say and hard to do. It does not mean waking up tomorrow with a finished new set of beliefs, clean and certain, to replace the old ones. That is just trading one cage for another. It means something slower and braver. It means being willing to live for a while without the certainty, in the open air, with real questions still unanswered, and not running back to the first warm structure that offers to answer them for you. Most people cannot tolerate that openness for more than a few days before the discomfort drives them back inside something. The rare few who can sit in the not knowing, who can hold the questions without needing them instantly resolved, who can build their values slowly, piece by piece from what they actually observe and actually value, rather than from what they were handed, those people become something the machine has no answer for. Not enemies of the faithful, just free of the machinery, standing on ground they chose, holding values they authored, owing their obedience to nothing they did not examine first.
Notice that not one of these requires you to hate anyone. Not the people who taught you the machine, who were mostly taught it themselves, in good faith, by people who loved them. Not the tradition, which holds real beauty tangled up with the control. Nietzsche was not asking you to become a bitter person sneering at the faithful. He was asking you to become a free one. And a free person does not need to mock the prisoners. He just refuses, quietly and completely, to pick the chains back up. Let me bring it back to where we started, because you have been carrying this the whole time you have been listening. Your religion was built to keep you poor. That was the claim, and I've shown you the 9 gears that make it turn. The poverty called holy, the reward moved past death, the obedience crowned as virtue, the rage rebranded as forgiveness, the invisible enemy, the war on your own body, this world traded for the next, the gratitude made into a leash, and the lock on the door, the sacred fear that stops you from ever examining any of it. But here's the thing that changes everything, and it is the only good news, and it is enormous. The entire machine, every gear of it, depends on one thing and one thing only. It depends on you not looking. Every single part of it is protected by the same force field, the fear that makes examination feel like sin. And you have just spent the better part of an hour looking directly at the thing you were trained never to look at, and you are still here. You did not disappear. The sky did not fall. You looked and you survived the looking, and that means the lock was never as strong as it needed you to believe. Think about what that actually proves. For your entire life, the machine relied on a single assumption, that if the stakes of questioning were set high enough, to infinity, to your eternal soul, then no one would ever dare to actually look. The fear was the whole defense. It did not need to be true. It only needed to be frightening. And you just tested it. You looked at the forbidden thing directly for the better part of an hour, and the punishment did not come. The floor held. You were still exactly who you were, only now you can see the walls. That is the one experiment the machine could never afford for you to run, and you have just run it and lived. And the result is the quiet end of a spell that is held for a very long time. Nietzsche was not trying to take your comfort away and leave you with nothing. He was trying to give you back the one thing the machine was built to steal, which is your own mind, your own life, your own right to decide from the ground up what is true and what is good and what you will bow to and what you will not. That is not a comfortable gift. It is terrifying. It is supposed to be. Freedom always is. So here is the last question, the only one that has ever mattered out of all 9 and everything after. Now that you have seen the machine, now that you have looked at it directly and lived, are you going to pick the chains back up because they are familiar and warm and picking them up requires nothing of you? Or are you going to do the hard, lonely, magnificent thing and begin for the first time in your life to decide for yourself what you actually believe? Pick one. Be honest about which one you have been choosing so far, and tell me why in the comments, because I read every single one.